Hello students, how are you? I hope you all are good. So in this lecture, we are going to discuss cantilever method. In the previous video, we have discussed about the portal method, right? So in this method, there are two assumptions, just like the portal method. The two assumptions are, first one is same as the portal method, that is, there is a point of contraflexure at the center of each member. Second is the intensity of axial stress in each column of a story is proportional to the horizontal distance of that column from the center of gravity of all the columns of the story under consideration. So we will see this second point. What is this second assumption when we will solve the problem? There only I will explain you what is this second statement. What does it mean? Okay, actually what is the meaning of this statement? Now coming to the steps, how many numbers of steps are there in this method, cantilever method? The first one is the location of centroidal axis. The first step we need to solve is to identify where is our centroidal axis of whole frame. Okay, whatever the frame is given, we will find the centroidal axis first. Second, we will find the axial forces in the columns, right? This is your second step. We will find the axial forces in the columns. If we have two story, then we will first find the axial forces in the column for first story, and then we'll go for the second story. The third step, you can say, because these two steps are same, we are finding axial force only, but the number of story is 2. That's why here first story, second story. If the number of story will be 3, then first story, second story, and then third story. The third step is shear at the end of beam. We will find the shear at the end of beam, and the final step is moment at the end of beam. So these are the 5 steps we will follow while solving any problem on cantilever method. So let's have a problem on this cantilever method so that we can understand what are these assumptions that we have taken in this cantilever method and what are the steps we need to follow for the analysis of a frame by using cantilever method. Okay, so let's have a problem now. Okay, so we have a frame here. Let's name it. The name is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and here the naming are I, J, K, and L. If you see this distance from this AB distance is 7 meter, this is your 4 meter, and here to here it is 5 meter. Okay, if you will see this distance, so this is 3.5 meter, and this is also 3.5 meter. Two horizontal forces are acting at A point, and second one is at E point. This is your 120 kilonewton of force, and this is your 180 kilonewton of force, right? And we know this is our story number 1, this is story number 2. So we need to analyze this problem. This is the problem. So what is our step number 1? We will go for the step number 1. What is step 1? First step is to find location of centroidal axis. We need to find locate centroidal axis. Okay, so this is our first step. So if we need to find the location of a centroidal axis, let's say this is our centroidal axis. Let's consider this is our centroidal axis. Okay, which is at a distance of, from here I am taking, from this column to this, which is at a distance of x dash. Okay, let's consider this n dash is your centroidal axis, which is located at a distance of x dash from your AE or EI column, AEI column, right? Now we need to take the distances of each column from this centroidal axis. So let's take This is your x1 from first column. This is the first column, right? From here to here, the distance is, let's take x1. Similarly, from the second column, the distance of centroidal axis from the second column is x2. Similarly, third column, from third column, the distance is x3. And the final fourth column, the distance of centroidal axis from the fourth column is x4. So we have considered this. X1 is the distance of first column from centroidal axis, x2, second column x3, third column, and x4 is the distance of centroidal axis from fourth column. Now location, how we will locate? So we are here, we have taken, let the centroidal axis be at a distance x dash from column AEI, right? So we need to find this x dash. How will you find this x dash? That will be ax1 plus ax2 plus ax3 plus ax4 upon a plus a plus a plus a. See, this is a1 x1 plus a2 x2 plus a3 x3 plus a4 x4 by a1 plus a2 plus a3 plus a4. But in this question, it is already mentioned the area of the column is same. And when we are going to solve any problem by using portal method or cantilever method, we consider the area, cross-sectional area of the columns are same. If we are going for factor method, then area may be different. So here already we have assumed this area of these columns are same. That's why I have taken a for each one. Area of this column is a, area of this column is a, area of this column is a, and area of this column is a. Now what is this capital x1 x2 x3 x4? Here we have taken a small x1. So capital x1 x2 x3 is x4 is the distance of that column from reference point. Which is the reference point? Here we have taken this AEI column. You can see here I have written from column AEI. So this AEI column is your reference point, right? So what will be the distance of this AEI column from this point only? It will be 0. So A into 0 plus A into x2. x2 means what will be the distance of this reference point from second column. So from second column, this is your second column. From here to here, what is the distance? This distance is 7 meter. You can see here it is 7. So 7 plus A into what will be the distance from third column? 7 plus 4, 11 plus fourth column, 11 plus 5, 16. So this is into divided by 4a. So this is 0 only. So here from here you can take a common. So 7 plus 11 plus 16 will be inside and divided by 4 into a. This a cancel. If you will solve it, you will get it as 8.5 meter, right? So we got our x dash. What is x dash? X dash is nothing, 8.5 meter. Means from here, at the distance of 8.5 meter, we have the centroidal axis. Means we have located the centroidal axis, that is 8.5 meter, right? So by using this only, what we will do? We will find x1, x2, x3 and x4 also. That is a small x1, a small x2, a small x3. Means the distance of the column from centroidal axis. What are these distances, right? So let's see, this is x1. So we know this x1 is equal to x bar. So it is simply 8.5 meter only. Now x2, what is your x2? If you see here, if you will see here, this is your x2, right? Now from here to here, the distance is x1. So if we will, this is x1, right? And from here to here we need to find. So we need to remove this x1 minus this distance. What is that distance? 7. So we can write it as x1 minus 7. That is 8.5 minus 7, which is equal to 1.5 meter. Similarly, if we will calculate x3, what is x3 here? If you want to know this distance, what will you do? You can see here, what is the total distance from here to here? That is 4, right? So if you will remove this part, if you will remove this x2 from 4, what will be the remaining? X3. So x2, that is 4 minus x2, which is equal to 4 minus 1.5, which is equal to your 2.5 meter. So this x3 is 2.5 meter. Now coming to x4. How will you calculate x4? You can see this x4 can be written as this distance plus x3, means x3 plus 5. So x3 is nothing, 2.5 plus 5, which is equal to 7.5 meter. So we have calculated the distance of centroidal axis from each column. From first column it is at a distance of 8.5 meter. From second column it is at a distance of 1.5 meter. From third column it is at a distance of 2.5 meter, and from the fourth column it is at a distance of 7.5 meter. So our step 1 is over, right? This was our step 1, that is location of centroidal axis. Now we will go to the step number 2, that is your axial forces in columns. First we will go for story 1, and then we will go for story number 2. In this step only, second step only, there is use of your second assumption of cantilever method. Now in this step only you will come to know what is that assumption, what does actually it mean, right? So this is your step number 2 now. Axial forces. First we will go for first story, right? So let us consider, let the axial force in column EI, because we are going for first story, so we will take EI, FJ, GK and HL. EI is equal to V1. Let's consider it as a V. So the area is equal, right? All the area we have considered, the area of these columns are equal. That's why it will be in the proportion. So by using that second assumption, what will happen? But if you will use that second assumption, then what will happen? See, I will write it here. Since the area are equal, all columns are equal, the axial force in the other column will be in the proportion according to the second assumption, right? Proportion, sorry, proportion to their distance from centroidal axis, right? This is our second assumption. So how we will analyze the second assumption? What does it mean actually? So it is nothing, you can see here, it will be V1 upon X1, means first column. What is the axial force in first column? We have considered as V1. So V1 upon X1. X1 is the distance of this first column from centroidal axis, will be equal to V2 upon X2, will be equal to V3 upon X3, which will be equal to V4 upon X4. Means the axial force in each column divided by its distance from the CG will be in proportional. For first column V1 upon X1, for second column V2 upon X2, for third column V3 upon X3, and for fourth column V4 upon X4. This is your our second assumption of cantilever method, right? So now here we have taken V1. Let's consider V1 is equal to V. So this is V only. Now from comparing each and everything, V upon X1 will be equal to V2 upon X2. From here you can calculate V2. V2 will be Vx2 upon X1. Vx2 upon X1. Now you know the value of X2. X2 value is 1.5. X1 value is 8.5. Now you compare, put it here, you will get 0.176 V. So similarly, we will convert each and everything in V3 also and V4 also in terms of V. So V3 will be 0.294 V and V4 will be 0.882 V. Okay. Simply, now you compare these two. What will happen? V1 is equal to V, so we can put it here. V upon X1 will be V3 upon X3. From here, V3 will be V X1 upon X3 into V. From there, if you will put the value, you will get these values, right? Now see here, if we are taking this V1, let's say we are taking this V1 here, we are taking this V1 in downward direction. Suppose at this point we are taking the axial V1 is downward direction, V2 also in downward direction, then automatically V3 and V4 will be in upward direction. V3 and V4. Okay, so you can mention here also this V is your in downward direction, then V2 is also in your downward direction, so V3 will be in upward and V3 V4 will be upward direction, right? To just counterbalance, to just counterbalance, okay, two axial forces are downward direction from the left of the centroidal axis and two on the right is in upward direction, right? So we have calculated this V1, V2, V3, V4 in terms of V. So V1 we can write here. What is V1? V1 is nothing. It is equal to V, which is in downward direction. Okay. So these all four values we have calculated, right? Now what we need to do? Just we have calculated these things. So first we will find this V1 value. If we will get this V1 or we consider V value, then V1, V2, V3, V4 all we can find it. What is unknown here? V. So we need to find V value. How we will find this V value? Let's see. Next we will find this V value only. How we are going to find this V value? Now here your first assumption will work, right? What is our first assumption? First assumption is that the point of contraflexure will be at the center for each member. So let's say this is the center N. So we are taking, or let's say M. Okay. So we are taking the moments, all the moments, sum of moments about this point will be equal to 0 because this is the point of contraflexure, right? All the forces. So here you can see above forces, horizontal forces. How many horizontal forces are there? Two horizontal forces, 120 and 180. So summation of moments about M point means point of contraflexure is equal to 0, or you can write taking moments due to all forces about the point of contraflexure, right? At any member you can select this member also, this member also, this member also, this member also, you will get the same value. So I am taking in EI. Now first we will take horizontal forces. So 120 into what is the distance? 120 to this point. What will be the distance from here to here? It is 3.5. What will be the distance from here to this point? Because this will lie at the center, so 3.5, half of 3.5 will be 1.75. So the distance will be 3.5 plus 1.75, that is 5.25, plus next horizontal force is 180. So 180 into distance from here to here, the distance is 1.75, so 1.75, right? Plus v1 into distance is 0, so v1 into 0, plus V2. V2 to this point, V2 is this force, right? From here to here, the distance is 7 meters. So V2 into 7. Now this is in upward, so it will be anti-clockwise. So minus V3 into distance, 7 plus 4, 11. Minus V4 into distance, V4 into distance. From here to here, the distance is 16, will be equal to 0. Now what we will do, we will replace this V1, V2, V3, V4 value in terms of V. We have already these values. So this will be 945 plus this V1 will be equal to V into 0 is 0 only, so plus V2. Replace this V2 by this value, so it will be 0.176 V minus 0.294 V minus 0.882 V will be equal to 0, right? So from here calculate this V value, because we have only this one unknown V. So from here if you will calculate, V value will be equal to 58.64 kilo Newton, and which will be your V value. So already we have calculated this V value. By replacing this V value, we will calculate V1, V2, V3 and V4. So if you will replace this value here, now just replace these values and we'll get that See, so we got this V. So we know V1 is equal to V, so which is equal to 58.64 kilonewton. What direction? Downward direction. Now we know V2 is equal to 0.176 V. So if you will put it here, you will get V2 value as 10.35 kilonewton in downward direction. V3 is nothing, 0.294 V. So if you will put, you will get 17.24 kilonewton in upward direction. And for V4 it is 0.882 V. So if you will put it here, we will get 51.72 kilonewton in upward direction. Now, before proceeding to the next step, you can check it here whether your proceeding is correct or not. How you will check? Sum of these two forces acting downward should be equal to sum of these two forces acting upward direction, right? Or nearly equal. This difference will be 0.01, 0.02, that too. Okay, no problem. It should be nearly equal to each other, means sum of the forces acting in downward direction must be equal to sum of forces acting in upward direction, right? So this V1 plus V2, if you will add, this will be 68. From here also you will get 68 point something. So it is nearly equal. It means the procedure what we have followed is correct. We can move to the next step, that is your step number. This you can check. Okay, check means upward direction forces, and if you will minus, one second, upward direction forces, you can see here, this is 58.64 plus 10.35. okay, this is upward direction forces, and downward direction minus downward direction 17.24 plus 51.72. if you will do this, it will be nearly equal to 0. If it is coming nearly equal to 0 means correct, we are proceeding correctly. Now coming to the next step, that is your step number 3, which is similar to this step only. In that we will go for the story number 2, right? So let's go for the story number 2. See, whatever the ratio we have calculated, V1, V2, V3, V4 ratio will be same. Ratio will not change because the distance of the columns are still the same. Just the number of story is changing. Now we are going to the second story, right? So if you will see here, the distance from here to here is 8.5, then distance from here to here is also 8.5. So the distance is same, so ratio will be same only. What will change only? Here we have taken V1, V2, V3, V4. Here we will take, let's take V1 dash downward direction, V2 dash downward direction, in upward direction V3 dash and V4 dash. As we have taken in the down also, first story V3, V4 upward. So here also V3 dash, V4 dash upward direction, and V1 dash, V2 dash in downward direction, right? So directly I am going for taking moments. Now we will take the moments at this point. Let's take it as Z point. Okay, about Z, because this is the point of contrafracture of this member, right? So now we'll take the moments about Z is equal to 0. Ratio will be same. What will be that ratios? Already we know that ratio is, if we see, V1 dash will be equal to V, okay, downward. V2 dash will be equal to 0.176 V downward. V3 dash will be equal to 0.294 upward V, and V4 dash will be equal to 0.882 V upward direction, right? So already we have taken these things in step number 2. Already we have calculated that the only we are changing is, in previous we have written V1 is equal to V, here we are taking V1 dash is equal to V. So summation of moments about Z is equal to 0. Now we are taking here. So see how many horizontal forces is above this, because this is your second story. So the forces, horizontal forces acting on second story or above the second story, that only we will consider. So here only one force horizontal 120 kilonewton. We will not consider this 180 kilonewton force, because this is for story number 1. This is not for story number 2, right? Because it is acting at the roof of this story number 1, so it will be considered in under story 1 only. When we are going to analyze story 2, it won't be in consideration. So 120 into distance. So from here to here, if you see this, because point of contrafracture lies on the center, so 3.5, half of 3.5 is 1.75. So 1.75 plus V1 dash into 0, because this V1 dash into distance is 0, plus V2 dash into distance is, from here to here the distance is 7, minus V3 dash into 11 minus V4 dash into 16 is equal to 0. Okay, so similarly you can replace this V1 dash value, V2 dash value, V3 dash value and V4 dash value in terms of V. So if you will calculate it, you will get V dash as 13, here dash, okay, 13.03 kilonewton, right? So we got this V dash value. So similarly, if V dash value, we got this V dash value, means V is equal, V1 dash is equal to V dash, which is equal to 13.03 kilonewton downward direction. Similarly, V2 dash will be equal to 0.176 V dash. So it will be, here you consider dash only, forgot to keep this dash because the second story, so just the notations, we are changing the notations, right? There we have taken V, so here V dash, there we have taken V1, so here V1 dash. So it will be 2.30 kilonewton downward direction. V3 dash 0.294 V dash, which is equal to 3.83 kilonewton upward direction, and here V4 dash will be 0.882 V dash, which is equal to 11.49 kilonewton in upward direction. So we have calculated V1 dash, V2 dash, V3 dash, V4 dash, all values we have right now. Okay, so now we will go for the step number 4. That is our before going to that, you can check here. You can check here, these two are in downward direction, these two are in upward direction. It means 13.03 plus 2.03 minus of 3.83 plus 11.49 should be nearly equal to 0. If it is nearly equal to 0, okay. Now we will go for the step number 4. Our step number 1 is location of centroidal axis, over. Step number 2 is axial forces. Already we done with this step, axial forces in column, first story, then in column, second story. Now coming to shear at the end of beam, and then we will go for moments at the end of beam, right? So shear at the end of beam, let's see shear at the end of beam. We are going for shear at the end of beam. So here you can see we have two story frame, right? This is your A, B, C and D. This is E, F, G, H. Okay. So this is two story problem. You can see here in this AE, this is I, G, H. J, K, L. Okay. So if you see here we have taken V1 dash, and here we are taking V1. Here we have V2 dash, and here we have V2. Similarly, here in upward direction we have V3 dash, here we have V3, and here we have V4 dash in upward direction, here also we have V4, right? In different columns. So first we are going for this step number 4. What is our step number 4? That is calculation of shear at the end of beam. So we will calculate the shear at the end of beam. Okay, now we will go for joint by joint. Joint E, F, G, H. We will take the joints like E is the first joint, F is the second joint, G is your third joint, H. Similarly, A, B, C, D is all your joints only. Okay, so we will analyze by using these joints. Before going to that, how we will calculate the shear at the end of beam, how we will take, what is the rule to take that forces, what we have, the axial forces V1 dash and V dash, right? So if you are taking a joint, let's consider this is your E joint. Let's consider this is your E joint, and V1 dash is this and V1 is your this. So if you will see this joint, whatever the forces is coming towards the joint, we will take it as positive, and whatever the forces going away from the joint, we will take it as negative. Like here, if you will see this V1 dash, it is coming towards the joint and V1 is going away from the joint. So in this case, if you will calculate the shear, what will happen? V1 dash minus V1, because V1 dash is coming towards the joint and V1 is going away from the joint. So this is the concept how we will calculate the shear, right? So let's calculate one by one. So first taking this E joint, so let's name it as FE. We are calculating shear force in at E joint, right? So what will happen at E? If you will see, V1 dash is going towards the joint and V1 is going away from the joint. So V1 dash minus V1, if we will put this value, already we have calculated this value, V1 dash value is 13.03 and this is 58.62. You can see here we will get minus 45.59 kilonewton. Now F we will calculate at second. Again V2 dash is coming towards the joint and V2 is going outward. So V2 dash minus V2, okay, and whatever the value we have got here, same value we will repeat, means we got this value of minus 45.59 kilonewton. So here we will put the same value with same sign, 45.59, right? So if you will put this V2 dash value, V2 value, we will get here minus 53.64 kilonewton. Now next, what is our next? G. So FG. Here you can see V3 dash is going away from the joint and V3 is coming towards the joint, right? So what will happen in this case? V3 minus V3 dash. So we will write here V3 minus V3 dash, and whatever the value we got here, what is that value? Minus 53.64. So same value we will keep here, minus 53.64. So if you will calculate it, you will get minus 40.23 kilonewton. Now we will go for the H. Okay, so shear force at H is nothing. You can see here if V4 dash is going outward and V4 is coming towards the joint. So towards the joint, going away from the joint, right? V4 minus V4 dash, and whatever the value we got here, minus 40.23. So if you will calculate, you will get here 0. So see, at this point we got the value of 0. It means we are correct. If we are not getting the value, final value as 0, means there is some mistake, right? It means we made some mistake at that. If you are solving for the shear at the end of beam for a single column, single story, first story or second, whatever the story be. So for this first story we have calculated at EFGH, we are starting from E, okay? So EFGH, H is your last joint. So at this joint the total shear force should be equal to 0. Now we will go for the second story. So in this second story, how many joints are there? 4 joints, A, B, C and D. So if you are starting from A, already we started from E for the second story. So similarly we will start from A only. So if you will start from A, finally the shear force at D will be 0. So at A, FA, what will be that? FA, you can see here, if you will see this joint, what are the forces? Only one force you can see, that is V1 dash, right? And which is going away from the joint. So what we will take? Minus V1 dash, because what are the forces which are going away from the joint, we take it as negative. So minus V1 dash, and what is our V1 dash value? 13.03. So minus 13.03 kilonewton. Now coming to B, joint B. Okay, so at this joint also you can see V2 dash is going away from the joint, right? So V2 dash, so we'll take with sign minus V2 dash. Okay, along with that we need to keep the value, whatever the value we got here. Okay, just repeat here with same value, my same sign, minus 13.03. So if you will calculate, you will get minus 15.33 kilonewton. Similarly, we will go for the third one, C. So at C, you can see V3 dash is coming towards the joint. So V3 dash will be, we will take it as positive, V3 dash, and whatever the value we got in the second step at joint B, that is minus 15.33. So we will repeat that value here, minus 15.33. So it will be your minus 11.49 kilonewton. Now going for the D. So if this value will be 0, means we have whatever the calculation we done till this step is correct. So FD, what will be your FD? You can see V4 dash is going towards the joint, means positive. We need to take it as positive. So V4 dash, and whatever the value we got here, minus 11.49. So minus 11.49. If you will put this value, you will get it as 0. It means we are correct. Okay. Whatever the calculation we have done, that is correct only because the last, at the last joint, we are getting the shear is 0. Okay. So our calculation step number 4 is over. Now we will go for the final step, that is your step number 5, that is calculation at the end of beam. We have calculated location of centroidal axis. We have calculated axial forces in the column with story number 1 and story number 2. Here also we have calculated shear at the end of beam for story 1 and story 2. Now we will calculate the moments at the end of beam, right, for again story 1 and story number 2. So we'll go for the step number 5. We have all these shear values, right? Okay. So step number 5. That is moment at the end of beam. Moment at the end of beam. Okay. So if you are going for the first story, means this one, then we need to calculate the moment of MEF, MFG, MGH, right? So what will be the moment in MEF? So MEF moment will be, what is our starting point? E point. Whatever the procedure we followed in shear, whatever the way we have followed, from where we have started and where we have ended, the same procedure, the same steps we will follow for moment also. We have started calculating the shear from E, so we will start calculating moments from E only. So EF, okay. So what is the first point? E. So what will happen? This MEF will be nothing FE, that is shear at this joint into half of the distance. What is the distance here? 7. This distance is 7, so 7 by 2, because you know the point of contraflexure lie at the center. That is our assumption. So if you will calculate this, you will get FE into 7 by 2. So what is 7? 7 is this distance. So 7 by 2 will be at this point, right? So moment will be 159.635 kilonewton meter. Similarly, we will go for the second, that is FG. So MFG, that will be first. What is first? F. So FF into the distance from here to here, the distance is 4, and from here to here the distance is 5. So it will be 4 by 2. If you will calculate, you will get 107.32 kilonewton meter. Now the third one, the third is your GH. So MGH, moment in your GH member. So it will be shear in G into what is distance? 5. 5 upon 2. So if you will calculate, you will get 100.57 kilonewton meter. Now going for the second story. First member, what is our first member? AB. So MAB. MAB will be nothing FA into the distance. What is distance? 7 by 2. 7. So 7 by 2. So FA into 7 by 2 is nothing 45.605 kilonewton meter. Next, we will go for the second member, that is your BC member. So MBC. So first is your MB. B is nothing. So we will take the moment at B. So FB into the distance is 4. So 4 by 2. The value is 30.66 kilonewton meter. And the last member, that is your CD. So MCD will be nothing. First name is C. So we will see here the shear at C into distance. What is distance? 5. So 5 upon 2. So what will be the value? 28.74 kilonewton meter. So we have calculated the moments at the end of beam also. So our problem is over. We are done with this problem. So in this problem, you can see we have followed the 5 steps. Basically, there are only 4 steps. Since this problem is of 2 stories, so the 1 step will increase in calculation of axial forces. So the total number of steps will be 5, right? So first step is nothing, location of your centroidal axis. First you need to locate the centroidal axis. Then we will find the axial force in the column, in the beams, right? In the story 1 and story 2 means in the columns. Then after axial force, we will calculate the shear force, okay, or shear in the members, beams, and then we will go for the moments. So these steps we need to follow to analyze any frame by using cantilever method. Okay. Thank you, students.